Welcome to today's tutorial on creating your very own Asian Zen garden. If you've ever dreamed of having a peaceful oasis at home, a Zen garden is a perfect way to achieve that sense of serenity. Whether you're looking to add a tranquil touch to your backyard or transform a small corner into a peaceful retreat, this video will guide you step by step on how to create a beautiful and calming Zen garden. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming garden tutorials and home improvement tips. Zen gardens are all about simplicity, balance, and creating a space where you can disconnect from the hustle and bustle of daily life. In this video, we'll cover everything from choosing the right location to adding the final finishing touches. So grab a notebook, take notes, and let's get started. The first step in creating your Zen garden is to choose the perfect location. This is a critical part of the process because the location you pick will set the tone for the entire garden. You want to select a spot that promotes calm and tranquility, whether that's in your backyard, on your balcony, or even in a cozy corner of your living room. If you have a spacious backyard, think about placing your garden in a quiet corner, away from distractions, where you can enjoy the peaceful atmosphere while sipping tea or reading a book. For apartment dwellers, you can easily create a Zen garden on a balcony by adding simple elements like rocks, sand, and plants. The key is to make sure the location is away from noise and other disturbances, so you can truly relax and meditate in the space you've created. A garden by a window that lets natural light is also ideal, as it will create a warm and welcoming ambience. When choosing the location, keep in mind the garden's size, shape, and how much natural sunlight it will get. If you're working with a smaller space, you don't need to worry too much about it being large. Zen gardens can be created in any space. Big or small, it's all about the atmosphere you create and the elements you bring in. With the right location, your Zen garden will be your perfect retreat from the stresses of daily life. Next, let's talk about the materials and tools you'll need to build your Zen garden. Don't worry, you don't need to spend a lot of money on fancy equipment. In fact, creating a Zen garden is about using natural materials and focusing on simplicity. Let's start with rocks. These will be the main feature in your garden. Choose smooth, natural stones as they represent mountains, islands, or large rocks found in nature. Larger rocks work best as focal points, and smaller rocks can fill the space around them. These rocks will provide texture and depth, making your garden visually interesting while still maintaining a minimalist feel. For the sand, pick a fine, light-colored variety. White or light beige sand works well because it reflects light and creates a clean, open look. If you can't find specific sand for Zen gardens, just use any fine sand from a local garden store. You'll also need a small rake to create the signature sand patterns, whether it's straight lines, concentric circles, or waves. These sand patterns symbolize water and energy flowing through the garden, adding to the calming atmosphere of the space. Next, you'll need plants that add life and color to your Zen garden. Bonsai trees, bamboo, and ferns are classic choices for Zen gardens because they represent nature and tranquility. Be mindful of how much space your plants need and choose low-maintenance options. Zen gardens are all about simplicity, so you don't want your plants to overwhelm the space. Lastly, make sure you have gloves, a small shovel, and a watering can to handle your plants and maintain the garden's beauty. Once you've gathered all your materials, it's time to plan the layout of your Zen garden. Planning is key to ensuring the space feels balanced and harmonious. Before you start placing rocks and sand, take a few minutes to sketch out a design. This doesn't have to be perfect, just a basic idea of where your rocks, plants, and sand will go. Zen gardens rely on the idea of balance, And this is where creativity plays a big role. Begin by considering where to place your larger rocks. These rocks should act as focal points, so choose areas in the garden that naturally draw the eye. You can cluster the rocks together or spread them out across the space, depending on the look you're going for. Zen gardens favor asymmetry, so don't be afraid to experiment with different arrangements. Rocks often represent mountains or islands, so think about positioning them in ways that evoke a sense of peacefulness in nature. Now, let's focus on the sand. This is where you can really get creative with your design. Start by imagining the movement of water or energy in your space. You can rake the sand in straight lines, creating the effect of flowing water. Or you might prefer creating gentle circular patterns that resemble ripples. Be sure to rake the sand in one direction, and feel free to experiment with different shapes. Just keep in mind that the goal is to evoke a sense of peace, so avoid overly busy or complicated patterns. For your plants, think about creating groupings of odd numbers like 3 or 5 plants per cluster. This follows the Zen principle of balance and unity. Odd number groupings are said to bring a natural flow and harmony to the garden. When choosing where to place plants, ensure they complement the rocks and sand. Remember, less is more. Don't overcrowd the space with too many plants. Now comes the fun part: arranging your rocks and sand. Let's start by placing the larger rocks in the spots you've planned for them. Take your time with this step. Position the rocks where they'll have the greatest visual impact. You can place one large rock in the center to create a striking focal point, or you could stagger several rocks across the garden to create a natural, flowing look. Once your larger rocks are in place, it's time to fill in with smaller rocks. These smaller stones should be scattered in between the larger rocks, providing texture and depth. You can use them to create pathways or borders, adding another layer of design to the garden. Next, focus on the sand. Use a rake to create calming patterns in the sand like straight lines or gentle waves. The idea is to evoke the feeling of water moving, so take your time to create lines that feel smooth and flowing. Make sure the sand is evenly distributed throughout the garden, covering the areas around the rocks. You want to create a sense of calm and order, so avoid having any patches where the sand looks uneven. When raking, remember that Zen gardens are about creating a peaceful, meditative atmosphere, so aim for clean, simple lines. Once your rocks and sand are in place, it's time to add some greenery to your Zen garden. Bonsai trees are a popular choice for their symbolic meaning and compact size. You can also add bamboo, which represents strength and flexibility, or moss, which creates a soft, lush ground cover. Place your plants strategically, grouping them in odd numbers. 3, 5, or 7 plants work best. This gives the garden a balanced, organic feel. When placing plants, consider their size and growth patterns. You want to ensure that each plant has enough space to thrive without overcrowding the garden. Bamboo is a great choice for height and texture, while bonsai trees can be a statement piece in your garden. Try placing the plants near the rocks to help create a natural flow in the space. If you want a bit of color, add flowers like Japanese iris or lotus. These flowers can be placed near the edges of the garden, adding visual interest without overwhelming the space. Just be sure to choose low-maintenance plants that fit the Zen garden's minimalist aesthetic. Water them regularly, and make sure they don't block your sand patterns or rocks. While water features are optional, adding a small fountain or koi pond can take your Zen garden to the next level. The sound of water flowing adds a soothing element to the space, making it even more relaxing. If you don't have a lot of space, consider adding a small tabletop fountain. It can still create that peaceful atmosphere without taking up much room. For the final touch, think about adding small decorative elements like a Japanese lantern, a stone bench, or even a little statue of Buddha. These items help complete the Zen aesthetic, but remember, less is more. You don't want to overcrowd your garden with too many decorative pieces, as that will distract from the calming atmosphere. Focus on pieces that have meaning and add to the peaceful vibe of your space. And that's a wrap on how to create your very own Asian Zen garden. We hope you found this tutorial helpful and that you're inspired to create your own peaceful garden at home. Don't forget to share your Zen garden photos with us. We'd love to see how your projects turn out. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more gardening and home decor ideas. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.